So, today we're going to talk about the career of a photographer named Tim Mantoani. Now, he's a true master of the craft, but what makes his story so fascinating is that he was right there, dead center for one of the biggest, most disruptive technological shifts a creative industry has ever gone through. It's a story about adapting, not just your tools, but your whole way of thinking when the world changes, seemingly overnight. And this quote from him really gets to the heart of his most iconic work. He said he wanted to celebrate the living legends of photography. See, it was never just about taking another picture for him. It was about preservation, about honoring the entire history of the medium at the exact moment its future was being completely torn up and rewritten. And that's the real question, right? Because before he could turn his lens on the legends, he had to earn his stripes. He had to build a career and a reputation that gave him the right to even be in the same room. Okay, so let's jump in. Our story starts in a completely different world, a world of dark rooms, smelly chemicals, and massive film cameras. An era where the whole process, well, it really felt like a kind of magic. Mantoani himself talked about this incredible shift. Back in the day, when he'd pull that dark cloth over his head to compose a shot on a giant 4x5 camera, people looked at him like he was some kind of wizard performing a ritual. Today, the reaction is more like, oh, a Mark V? Cool, I have that camera. The tool, the magic box, has just become another consumer good. And his training was just steeped in that old-school analog world. He graduated from Brooks, he interned with a true lighting master, Dean Collins, and he built his entire skill set on the tough, technical craft of film. We're talking exposure, lighting, processing, the works. This wasn't just a style for him, it was a hardcore discipline. So with those rock-solid analog skills, what do? Well, Mantoani took that foundation and carved out a really powerful niche for himself in the hyper-competitive, super demanding world of sports photography. And his career path is just a perfect example of how one thing leads to another. It's like dominoes. Winning a student competition gets his foot in the door with Toyota Motorsports. That work gets him connected with the brand No Fear, which was massive at the time. Soon enough, that leads to shooting trading cards for Upper Deck. And before you know it, he's the go-to guy for giants like EA Sports, Coke, and ESPN. But here's the key to his success. And it wasn't just about big, artsy ideas. It was about being brutally efficient. I mean, when you're working with pro athletes, you don't get hours. You get minutes. So Mantoani perfected this simple, one big soft light approach that can make anyone look incredible and fast. It was pure problem-solving under pressure. And you see this play out again and again in his stories. He was told he'd have 4 hours with Kobe Bryant. He knew that was a fantasy, so he planned for 10 minutes and bam, got the shot. Or the time he was shooting NASCAR drivers, and Dale Earnhardt himself walked past 5 other photographers with their crazy setups, looked at Mantoani's simple Polaroid test shot, just nodded, and gave him 2 frames. That's it. That's the kind of trust you earn with expertise. But just as his career is hitting its peak, firing on all cylinders, the whole world of photography was about to get turned upside down. The digital wave was coming, and honestly, it was less of a wave and more of a tsunami. And this joke from Mantoani, it's one of those things that's funny because it's so painfully true. The barrier to entry to call yourself a photographer just dissolved. All of a sudden, anyone with a new DSLR and a business card was a professional, flooding the whole market. And here's the devastating result. When the supply of images becomes basically infinite, thanks to digital cameras and then smartphones and Instagram, the perceived value of a single, well-crafted photograph just plummeted. The very craft he'd spent his whole life mastering was suddenly being treated like it was worth pennies. So what do? I mean, how do you respond when the world seems to think your life's work is suddenly disposable? Well, Mantoani's answer was to go in the complete opposite direction. He doubled down on everything that made analog special and created what he called his anti-digital project. He called it Behind Photographs. And the idea was simple, but just so profound. He decided to photograph the living legends of photography, holding their single most iconic print. So in one frame, you have the artist, their masterpiece, and their story, all captured together. And to do it, he chose a format that was the absolute polar opposite of a fleeting digital file. He used one of the last working 20 by 24-inch Polaroid cameras on Earth. We're talking about a beast of a machine, the size of a room, that produces one single, massive, one-of-a-kind instant print. I mean, just listen to this process. It's so physical. You compose the shot on ground glass, you pull the film down like a window shade, a huge flash fires, chemical pods get crushed between these giant rollers. You literally have to cut the final print out of the camera with an X-Acto knife. Then you wait 90 seconds and peel it apart to reveal the image. There's no undo, no delete. It's a real, tangible object, created in a moment you can never get back. And this is what Mantoani asked the legendary photographer Pete Turner, who had traveled all the way into New York just for the portrait session. And Turner's answer was basically no, he wouldn't have come. The unique, historic, almost sacred process of using that giant Polaroid, that's what got these masters in the door. It showed a deep respect for the medium that they immediately understood. So after a career that literally spans two completely different technological universes, what are the big takeaways? What can we learn from Tim Mantoani's journey? Well, when you boil it all down, his advice has almost nothing to do with technology. It's about passion. It's about outworking everyone else. It's about relationships. And this last one is so important. Taking great pictures, that's just the price of admission. It's not enough. You have to be the person someone trusts, the person they actually want to hire and work with. And this idea, it extends to his rules for being an assistant. Be early. Get off your phone. Anticipate what the photographer needs before they even ask. It's all about professionalism, respect, and reliability. Notice that none of this is about f-stops or shutter speeds. These are the timeless skills that get you work, whether you're shooting with a giant film camera or the newest iPhone. In the end, Mantoani's career is this incredible reminder that while tools will change, industries will get disrupted, the things that truly endure are your passion, your work ethic, and the story you choose to tell with your work. In a world of infinite digital copies, he chose to create things that were singular and timeless, which kind of leaves us with a big question to think about. What story will your work tell?